Hello and welcome to another episode of Dee's Media World, and today we'll be discussing episode 10 in my Inuyasha review series, Phantom Showdown, The Thunder Brothers vs. Tetsusaiga. I think the title of the episode is even funny because it's not the Thunder versus Inuyasha, it's actually versus Tetsusaiga, which is quite accurate, I suppose, because Inuyasha uses the sheath and also uses the Tetsusaiga to defeat both brothers. So this episode begins with Monten actually like fantasizing that if he had a head full of hair, then he would get as many girls as at least some as many girls as his brother Heaton has, which is an interesting contrast. One of the interesting things about this episode is the villains, and there are very memorable villains in Inuyasha, and Molten and Heaton are quite interesting. Like Molten, he's like an evil guy, but we kind of are seeing this, I guess, other side of him. Not necessarily a softer side, but we're seeing what he desires most, which is to have a full head of hair and to be attractive and to be wanted by women. And when he dies later on in the episode, when Inuyasha throws the sword and kills him, he actually like says that he wished. We even see like a picture of his family, like his father and his mother, and he looks just like his mother. He wishes that he could have looked more like his dad and got his good looks. And even though he's jealous of his brother for having them, he's never jealous in a angry way. He's jealous like, I just wish I looked like you or looked like our father, not I hate you because you look like our father, but because I just wish I looked like you, and that kind of makes me really sad. It's more like a sad jealousy, and I found that really intriguing. Like, it's funny, they didn't even have to add that in there. Villains in Inuyasha can be very, more than just one thing. They're not just evil for the sake of evil sometimes. And I found that really fascinating. To me, that's probably the best aspect of them. That was what makes them memorable. Even their powers are pretty cool. I'm not going to probably do like a huge summary of everything that happened. If you haven't seen the episode, I have put it in the description box. But I decided to just get to the point of the things I liked and about the episode. It's a really good episode. Kagome, she tries to help out a little bit, even though she almost gets choked to death. When Molten chokes her, it's kind of like, how you watch something like, well, why didn't he just do A? If he really wanted to kill her, why did he choke? I guess you could say that he was choking her to death because he wanted to do it slow, and that's fun for him because he said so. But at the same time, how long would it have really taken for him to choke someone like Kagome? With as big as his hands are, and the fact that he's a demon and she's a human. Like, things like that. The show always kind of had things like that. Or the fact that Inuyasha gets stabbed with the thunder. I don't even know if it has a name. Whatever Heaton's weapon's called. He gets stabbed at least 3 times, especially in the back. And if even Inuyasha says something like, if I get hit by that thing, I'll be killed. Well, he got stabbed right through the shoulder and like somewhere in the back area, and he was still alive. So these characters are invincible sometimes. When Inuyasha slays Molten, he throws the sword from a far distance. There are a couple of things I gotta say about that. The first thing is that I'm proud of Inuyasha because he never really has like battle like strategies. He kind of just goes in battle. So the fact that he thought, what, I'll stab the brother, that's my plan, while he from the distance, was actually really smart of him. Because he doesn't really do that often in the show, which I really like that. My only thought when he did that was that he could have killed Kagome too, but luckily, Molten, he came confused. Molten was holding her like to the side, so she didn't get hurt at all. But like if he had moved her like right in front of him, like if he was holding Kagome like this, and Inuyasha did that, Kagome would have gotten killed too. So I guess maybe he just wasn't holding her in a way that Inuyasha was concerned about her getting hit. Because I couldn't help but think that. But it was a great strategy for Inuyasha's part. Great timing and everything. The killing him pissed Heaton off. One thing I did love is that Heaton, he cares about his brother. Like the last episode I mentioned that there's obviously a power struggle or power difference between the two. While Heaton's the older brother, he's also much more commanding. He even tell Molten like in the last episode, like if you weren't my brother, I would do X, Y, Z. I wouldn't put up with you or whatever. But I think that you might think that it's kind of a front or an act, like he was just pissed off. But he really did care about his brother, and when his brother dies, he's really pissed. But he also he still loved him, even no matter what he didn't care what his bro, like he says, even though Molten's like, I don't believe you, but, whatever. And I kind of I like that dynamic between two brothers. We don't really have that dynamic between siblings that much in the show, especially at this point, because, we just saw like two or three episodes ago, Shoshome and Inuyasha's terrible, not friendly relationship. So, I think that's really good. Inuyasha uses the sheath to block the thunderbolts. I guess that's what that was, the thunderball that was coming at him. And he also uses it against Hiiten's attacks, which is pretty good. We don't actually know where Inuyasha got the sheath from. I don't know if I mentioned that in the other episode, but when did Inuyasha get the sheath? Like, was it in was it in his dad's grave? Because Tensaiga was by itself, so no clue. I guess that doesn't matter. um, is there much else going on? Inuyasha punches Hiiten, which is hilarious because I love it. It's kind of like street fighting almost. Like, okay, well, I don't have a weapon, so I guess I gotta use my hands. In this world where there's all these different types of weapons people use, that it's kind of cool that, he just said, forget this, I'm gonna punch him in the face. When Kagome tries to get the Tensaiga after Molten's getting killed, I couldn't help but notice she was making so much noise. She was bringing way too much attention to herself. Even though she was trying to stop Shippo from going, I'm like, you're speaking way too loud and you're bringing way too much attention to yourself. But, Foxfire actually protected them, which, that was definitely what's it called, a deus ex machina, because why didn't the dad do that previously? Like, Shippo and Kagome were almost killed like 2 or 3 other times, but whatever, convenience, right? You know how the show is, convenient sometimes. I mean, it made sense in the long run, but kind of like how when Kagome, but the fact they get out of it uninjured is kind of what makes it seem like bull crap. Like when, I was talking about when Shoshome was trying to kill Kagome, and she used the Tensaiga it was a shield for her, but it looked like she had the Tensaiga like on the side or behind her first, and then she put it in front of her. So shouldn't she have had some effects of the poison? That kind of stuff. You would think they would have gotten somewhat injured, but I guess his dad was, I don't know, somehow able to, whatever. Shippo's dad has some type of fox magic where he can save Kagome, save both him and Kagome. Inuyasha thinks he defeats Hiiten. Inuyasha works a lot. His fighting skills, and this is probably what his dad knew would happen because he is half human. His fighting skills work in his advantage when he's usually angry or when he's motivated. Like, he's motivated to beat Shoshome in the other episode because he has to protect Kagome. That's how the Tensaiga even awakens, so to speak. And like here, when he thinks Kagome and Shippo are dead, he's like, okay, I gotta avenge their deaths, kind of thing. I'm pissed off, and he fights better, and he actually wins because of that. Otherwise, it probably would have been a wrap. The sheath actually summons Tensaiga, and I guess it knows when it's in danger, which I was gonna question, but I was like, I think it knows when it's in danger because it was almost cracked in half before Inuyasha, before the Tensaiga came to him and stuff. Overall, I think this is a good episode. It was one of the most memorable, definitely one of the most memorable villains. I couldn't help but notice when Monten wishes he had hair. I was like, too bad he didn't know Yura of the hair. She might have been able to help him out a little bit. Probably not, but Oh, one last thing I wanted to comment on was the voice acting, and the voice acting is really good in the show. Period. There's always been great voice actors. They sound just like how the character looks. They make the character so much more interesting and better. Like, the way that Monten talks is very poetic, kind of. Like the Japanese. I watched the Japanese subtitles, the English subtitles from the Japanese, so I know what they're saying. They don't talk the same way, but in the English version, they spice it up and kind of make Molten speak in a kind of I don't know how to describe how he talks, but he says stuff like, he's very fluent with his speech. He's very, you tell he thinks before he speaks, and he's very eloquent. That's what I mean. The way he talks and the way the voice actor does him is great. And that laugh he does, oops, I dropped my notebook, but the laugh he does is hilarious. When Hiiten like compliments him, he does ha ha ha, like, it's just that was silly. I bet that the voice actors, you can tell, have so much fun with this.